Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it's your resident pro gamer Pigusama, and it's time for a new game. That game is called Lemnis Gate. To describe Lemnis Gate shortly, it is a time loop FPS. Over the course of 5 25-second rounds, you will coordinate your troops to capture various objectives and battle your enemies, with the gimmick being that all rounds happen within the same time loop, so you're able to attack old enemies, plan for the future by setting traps. It's a very brainy game. It's not really popping off, but for me, I think it's one of the smartest games out there right now, so I'm gonna put a little time into it. This is one of those games that I think can really grow over time if it manages to attract an audience of sorts, and that'll really come down to advertising and, truthfully, if content creators decide to make content on it. I feel like this is a game that needs tutorials. It's going to be very complicated for the average person to hop into, so I'm going to make a couple primers. In today's video, I'm going to give you a controller tutorial, show you how to put your settings right so you can properly succeed in this game. The thing about it is the controller settings are bunk. You do not want to use the default controller settings in this game. So I'm going to go through it now, I'm going to show you how to set yourself up, and then we're going to play a good game so I can give you an example of how this game should go. Now, first thing I would do is go to your audio, turn your music down. The reason this is because there's music within the actual game itself, and it's going to prevent you from hearing things. There are two modes to this game before I get into this. There is turn-based, where you and your opponent take turns, and there's simultaneous, where both you and your opponent run at the same time. That's much more like a traditional FPS. You're going to be dueling people, holding corners, doing all the things you do in regular FPS in that mode. Right now, I'm going to focus on the turn-based one because I think that's where the actual time loop mechanics shine the hardest. Essentially, you're running a battle backwards. So getting into the actual controller settings, you're going to see my sensitivity is tuned a little bit down. I recommend you do that. In any FPS you play, it's better if you're a controller player to have low sensitivity and focus on your movement when come to tracking. In that vein, you'll notice that my ADS is under my horizontal. It's less than a 0.1, while my scoped is less than my ADS. The point of ADS is you want to slow down. My look acceleration, I've turned it down quite a bit, but not all the way. And the reason for this is this game, I believe, runs in an exponential curve. And because it does not have linear curve, which I believe is always the better controller. To explain exponential, it means as you depress the stick to the side, it will exponentially increase the rate at which your camera turns. Linear is a direct translation from how far you have the stick turned. And since this game, I believe, is not on linear, you kind of have to have a response acceleration, or you're going to get really slow turns, even if you slam the stick. The dead zone, normally I would put the dead zone as low as possible, but because it's exponential and this game has a ramp-up time, I keep the dead zone a little higher. Otherwise, even with a minor depression of the stick, you're going to start speedily turning to the side. It's going to ramp up over time. Better to have a high dead zone so you can make minor adjustments easier. Now, I happen to have a Elite 2 controller, so I have paddles on the back. You can see those. And for that reason, I don't have my jump mapped to anything. But in this game, you can map your button controls. So for this reason, I would take your jump and I would turn it to left bumper, because there is no... Hold up, I kind of messed that up. If you are on a regular controller, I would take your jump and I would map it to left bumper, because in-game while you are playing, there's nothing that left bumper does while you're a character, and when aiming, you do not want to take your finger off the stick. In actuality, in this game, though you're taking turns, it is actually more punishing for you to make bad movement, because your bad movement is punished without the ability for you to defend yourself. What's going to happen is if you stop to take a shot, or you make a jump and then have to readjust your aim, is that's just going to make it easier for your enemy to kill you in a later turn. And that's what you're trying to prevent. You always want to be mobile in this game. You never want to stop and shoot. Now, when it came to graphics, I turned the brightness up a little bit. I always do this in games because I feel like, especially if you're on a console, the shadows are what are going to mess you up the most. PC always has the option of turning off shadows, textures, all that. You don't have that option, so turn your brightness up. Motion blur, off. There's no need for motion blur. This game is already kind of blurry when you turn. It has a natural screen tearing to it, so you don't want to do motion blur. I have low latency frame syncing on because I just believe your inputs are more important than the actual visuals of your game. I haven't had problems with this game dipping in performance on the Series X, so I mean, if you're playing on that, maybe turn this on. I don't know how it'll run on lesser consoles. In the general settings, I have the head bob turned all the way off and the camera shake intensity all the way off. Anything that obstructs your view like that in a competitive game, you don't want on. Just turn them off. And that is the best controller settings I can give you, the best tips I can give you. We're gonna go ahead and get into a game. Hopefully we can get a good one to show you how this really should play out. I know it says I'm level 0, but I've played quite a bit on another person's profile, so I'm hopping in here with a bit of knowledge over these people. We'll see how it goes.
Defend your resistors from the incoming team.
So if you haven't seen this game before, you're gonna start in drone mode every time. At the very beginning, it's gonna allow you to see the map. He is going first, so he's got to pick his troop and send him out. There are 8 different troops, and depending on their various abilities, he's a vendetta. So he's laying some turrets down. He's also a shotgunner. He's actually kind of made a bad play with this guy. He's trying to control the side. I can kind of sweep him fairly easily here because of how he moved. So I'm right there. Coming in. He brings him back, but that don't matter. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off with Toxin.
Chemical system.
I'm going to throw her over, get in here, spray all that area.
This is my new formula. Toxic refill.
Yep, and he's going to die going back out. See?
Bodily harm.
And I'm going to stay back here and block that off. Now it's hard to, when someone goes an aggressive player or character like that in the beginning, it's hard to predict what you should do after that. So really all I did was fill that room with Toxin. So it makes that room hard to access. So this guy's gonna come in here, kill me from behind, but his guy's already gonna die. This shotgunner fails. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my landmine guy, and I'm gonna go around the side of this building. So check this out. Deathblow. Watch this.
This realm. Oh. In position. Play. Poor soul. Third kill.
Oh, I killed my own guy. I'm a fool. I'm an actual fool. Okay, I kind of messed up there, but you kind of get the deal I'm saying. This guy is using his rush troops in the very beginning to his disadvantage. I got to pay attention to this one. So I go in, I kill his guy. I accidentally kill my dude. That's very unfortunate. But his guy actually came out pretty low. So this is the point where I would use a sweep troop. See, I'll use Capitan because she's got an auto rifle and frags. So I'm going to come around this way. Throw that in there. Go back.
A nice takedown.
Wait for... Take him out. Throw him in there.
I will keep going.
Come back behind the tree. Just fire here for no particular reason, just in case he decides to come down that lane. That's a good concept too. Pre-firing a lane. This is going to play out a bit more like a MOBA. So having played MOBAs is going to give you more experience in this, I feel. Because you're going to look at the battlefield more like lanes. Ah, Eric Racer, you smart little fucker. He came out with shield guy. So here's where it gets a little risky. What I'm gonna do is my guy's protector orbs, and it'll power them up.
Shield. Engage. Reloading.
And then there we go. We still haven't taken the point. That's the problem, bro. We're fighting over the same goddamn point. But we'll see how this plays. Ooh! So he played out his last guy. So now this is my game to win. So I won the first half. I really didn't even need to use the shotgun, guys. There's a definite advantage to going second because it allows you to do the counterplay. And if you're doing counterplay while setting up for their future moves, you're going to do quite good.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Drop a like and subscribe so you don't miss a video. Peace and love.